Peace, people. Welcome to the latest episode of the Rough Draft. I am your host, Kevin Alberto Savio, and in this episode, I'll be talking about my very first book release, Raise Your Brown Black Fist, The Political Shouts of an Angry Afro-Latino. Thank you for tuning in to this very special Latino Heritage Month edition of the Rough Draft. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about my very first book release called Raise Your Brown Black Fist, The Political Shouts of an Angry Afro-Latino. I published it 10 years ago through Author House, so this was actually the book that started my writing career as an author. Um, it's based on two article series that I had written for an online magazine called Blacktino.net, which no longer exists. It was basically a website dedicated to building ethnic unity between African Americans, Latinos, and Afro Latinos. I wrote for them for about, I'd say, a year and a half, from about March of 2007 to about August of 2008, and we ended up leaving each other on very bad terms. If you talk to these people, they'll tell you that they fired me, but really, I quit. There's a difference of opinion. I'm an actual political activist, and they're not. I mean, because let's face it, most Afro Latino websites back then, they're usually started by like activists, academics, and journalists. The people at Black.net were none of the above. They were business people. So at the end of the day, they made the best business decision. And pretty much the best business decision is not always the best moral decision. So I talked a little bit about this book in episode three. Um, Again, it's based on some online essays, online political essays, I should say, that I'd written for the website. It's based on one called Black versus Brown, which basically talked about the supposed beef between the African American and Latino communities, how bullshit that beef really is, and really putting everything in its proper historical perspective and showing that we actually have a hell of a lot more in common than what actually separates us, especially racially, because of the fact that Latino is not a race, it's a nationality. So it just showed a lot of, especially at that time, just because it was the early to mid 2000s. So just like a lot of stupid ass people going online saying a whole bunch of dumb shit. And it's really just a bunch of empty rhetoric, and they don't even have any real facts to back up what they were saying. So when I actually started writing Black versus Brown, it was really supposed to be a one off. It wasn't even really supposed to be an article series. How the hell I stretched it to like 8 different essays, I have no idea. But I wrote the very first one, and what motivated me to actually start writing that as a response was because at the time I was living in Richmond, Virginia, and I was reading one of the local black newspapers. I believe it was the Richmond Voice, and I kept on seeing certain letters to the editor in which you had a lot of local African Americans kind of blaming the Latino community for a lot of the plights of the black community. And I'm like, okay, white people have been fucking you over since even before this country was a country, but you want to blame all the problems of the black community on Jose and Abdul. Fuck out of here. So I kind of wrote Black versus Brown, the first essay, kind of as a one-off. I didn't really expect it to do anything, like just write my opinion and then move on to something else, because I actually had another idea for an article series I wanted to write at that time for Blacktino.net. And what I wrote in that particular essay, whereas it was called Black versus Brown, Where's the Beef? Because, like I said, it was supposed to be one off. I didn't call it number one or anything. It really caught a lot of fire. You know what I'm saying? And it really it resonated with a lot of people, because the whole thing with with the entire book, Raise Your Brown Black Fist, I didn't want it to be some sort of academic affair any damn way. I really wanted it to be written for the masses. I wanted it to be for the people in the community. You know, say in both communities, the Latino and the black communities. You know, and Black versus Brown really took off. And so I started writing subsequent essays, and it ended up becoming a series. So, um, like I said, it ended up being like 8 parts long. And I also wrote a number of other articles for the site while I was writing for them before we parted ways. Because Raise Your Brown Like Fist, like I said, was Black versus Brown, and it was also my second article series that I had written for Blacktino.net, and it was called Black Thoughts: A Political Ideological Perspective for Afro Latinos. And that was basically stating why Latinos of African descent should embrace the ideology of Pan Africanism, Black nationalism. And that one ended up actually being 7 parts long, and only half of that was published through Blacktino.net. Because by the third entry in Black Thoughts was when we parted ways, you were saying, on bad terms. So the other remaining 4 essays in that particular series got reposted on some other websites that I was associated with and writing for at the same time. Because I think I previously said I was writing for BlackDino.net, but some of the stuff that I written for BlackDino.net had gotten republished through other outlets online. And so um, I basically finished up writing that whole series by like the end of 2008, I believe, by like November or something like that. And then kind of going into 2009, I hadn't really done anything, and I was kind of at a crossroads in my writing career because I stopped doing online journalism, and I'd been doing some other activism, specifically dealing with people in the literary arts. And so going through them, they were the ones who told me about like print on demand publishing and how actually easy it is to be involved in that to release a book. And so I started thinking, like getting towards the end of 2009, like, well, I have all this material. I always thought it would make a great book someday. You see, it got like a lot of really positive feedback while they were posted individually online. Why not put it together, compile it, and make it a book? So, Raise Your Brown Black Fist became basically the Black versus Brown article series combined with the Black Thought series. And I also added 3 additional entries into it. So, the book is in 3 parts: Black versus Brown, Black Thoughts, and also what I call miscellaneous entries. So, it's one standalone article called Hip Hopistas, Keep It Real, which is supposed to be the original article series that I wanted to write. And then 2 blog entries are basically me dealing with certain African Americans and the dumbass shit that they're saying about Latinos on the internet, which basically proved my whole point of what I was saying in the book of Raise Your Brown Black Fist. You got a lot of ignorance being spread out there, especially online. And there's a whole lot of work that needs to be done to combat that. Like I said, the book was published through Author House in 2010. And so most of my sales were hand to hand because I was doing a lot of activity to promote it. I was able to do like radio interviews, mostly online radio interviews. I did a number of appearances. I did a few festivals. I did some like other vending opportunities. Um, I did a couple of panel discussions as well, so I was able to promote the book that way. So most of the promotion for Raise Your Brown Black Fist was mostly hand-to-hand sales. I mean, I was getting some, you say, royalties through like online sales, but there was a lot of trickery with Author House for whatever reason. People were telling me that they were ordering copies of the book, but they weren't receiving their copies that they'd order online. So yeah, I mean that's kind of the drawbacks of like dealing with certain print-on-demand companies, certain ones. But Raise Your Brown Black Fist was my first book. I was very proud of it when it dropped. Helped me to like really jump off my writing career, and I'm very glad about it. Like I still promote it to this day. I still have fans who contact me from when they first read that book 10 years later, and I'm very proud of that project that I wrote. You know what I'm saying? It's something that for me just really helped me a lot, and it really put me out there, and especially my own hustle mode of what I was doing to put the book out there. So if you would like a copy of Raise Your Brown Black Fist, it is available through Author House's website. It's also available through Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, and Books a Million. Going through their websites, it's available in both paperback and hardcover, specifically through Amazon and through Author House. So it's available in paperback and hardcover. It's also available in ebook format, primarily through the major distributors of Kindle, Nook, Kobo, and iTunes. So, thank you very much for tuning into this episode of the Rough Draft. I really appreciate it. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like the video. Please leave a comment. Definitely subscribe to the channel. And press the notification button so that you could be informed the next time I drop another video. So thank you very much again. Thank you for helping me to promote Latino Heritage Month. Keep the fist raised. Always on my literary grind. And I'll talk to you people soon. Peace.